I'd say that's one goal that I have for anyone that is aspiring to be a curator. That position comes with power and privilege. It's really important to be community-oriented and have the ability to look at multiple perspectives, even if you don't agree with it. So I teach a course called The African Archive Beyond Colonization, and this course aims to explore the concept of the archive beyond text-based documents or evidence that is normally run by state-owned institutions. And instead, we're really exploring African material culture, predominantly in museums that are in North America. It started with my friend and colleague, Dr. Sarah Darabo, who's an assistant professor of classics at Stanford. We'd always dreamed about teaching a class together. Classics as a discipline has historically only really focused on ancient Greece and Rome, but has ignored ancient civilizations that exist on the African continent. Students have the opportunity to work directly with the associate curator of African art at the Brooklyn Museum, where they will select one cultural object to research from their African collections, and they will curate this in a final digital exhibition.
The African Archive Beyond Colonization is really appealing to a lot of people in our program. We are excited about these everyday objects, and we're also excited about these objects that are understudied and undervalued. The digital aspect is somewhere that I want to push myself on because it doesn't come naturally to my practice. Making work that's digitally accessible is huge.
With our online exhibition, essentially we're trying to approach it through a restorative lens. We kind of came to a mutual understanding that, hey, we should kind of employ the ability to zoom in and rotate our objects through photogrammetry into our online exhibition, because it will kind of allow us to create that experience that we had to our viewers. My objects are really small. One is a geometric weight, which is from the 17th to 19th century from the Asante community. And another one is an Akan spoon. They're really small, they're intricate, they have so many little details to them. My objects were actually made for the measurements of gold dust. I have a long background in jewelry, and we see gold dust in the manufacturing side. So it was interesting to see how a technology that I found new, it was used back then.
And some of the things that the students wanted to make sure to each cover was the question of provenance, or the history of how an object came into the museum's collections. A lot of artifacts that exist in North American or even Western European museums often come through really suspicious pathways, and they're often collected during the height of colonial empire. We've been contemplating whether decolonization is the term to use, or are there other words we can use that express this desire we have to reduce doing further harm or exploitation to these objects, because they are being presented out of context, and what are ways that the digital might be able to open that. And one of the themes then that comes up for a lot of the students is transcultural exchange, and thinking about that beyond just European colonization.
The object that I'm researching is a Swahili box. It's a wooden box with a sliding lid. 10% of the volume of that block has been removed. Also, it's not rectangular, it's sort of a dip. It's ornamented on the outside with these chip carvings. Some of the information that I'd gotten from the curator was to look at this Indian door carving tradition, like over doors. I'm also looking at a lot of these Kuba wooden carved objects, which is from more Central Africa. And I have found a Sri Lankan tradition of spice boxes, where you have this swiveling lid. So I think there's actually a great argument to be made for a sort of syncretism.
If we go back in history, nothing was actually separated. There was always exchanges being made, cultures and motifs. No one culture is separated from the other. The museum is a very complex space, and everybody in all institutions are talking about how we can decolonize such institutions.
Museums are supposed to be institutions of public service and education, and we tend to only display objects that fit our geographic imaginary of Africa. Europeans collecting objects that they thought were exotic and then displaying that for mostly Western audiences to see as a way to travel without actually physically leaving.
Decolonizing, there's no one approach to it. It really depends again on what you're trying to decolonize. How do we start this process? And even so, like, which community are we talking to? We should talk to them. How do they want their objects to be seen? What can we do as curators? Because it's a constant learning process.
There should be an ability to listen very actively. If we keep in mind what the mission is, I hope that's what my students, as they enter their museum careers, can keep as their North Star or their compass. This matter of integrity, the ethics of how we do our jobs really matter. This is still a slow movement, I think, but you can be part of that particular change.